Hello everybody, welcome back to Curiosity. It's been a while since the last one in it. I've been super busy at work post the Lance Bush versus Mike Humer debate that happened a while ago. If you haven't watched it already, you should all go and watch it. The link is up here as well as in the description below. We go into fascinating depths into metaethics in the video, and yet we only touch the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot to come. Anyway, by the way, that's the most viewed, the most watched, the most commented, the most liked video on my channel ever. So, kudos to me. Just kidding. Now, one would think that I should have capitalized on that search and made more videos during that time, that I had a forking path of future alternatives in front of me, and that I didn't choose any of those, and I only made this video now. But the truth is that it's not a fork, it's only a skewer, and I could only have made this video right now. Now that brings me to our next argument against free will, which is the no forking paths argument. Now, more than an argument, it's just an intuition pump against free will for ease of understanding the concept of free will and determinism. The best way to get an intuitive grip of the concept of free will and determinism is to think of time as a garden of forking paths. To think of alternative futures diagrammatically in the way suggested by a path or a river or a road that literally forks. Whenever we make a choice, we are doing or think we are doing something like what a traveler does when faced with the choice between different roads. The only roads the traveler is able to choose are roads which are a continuation of the road she is already on. By analogy, the only choices we are able to make are choices which are a continuation of the actual past and consistent with the laws of nature. If determinism is false, then making choices really is like this. One road, the past, behind us, two or more roads, future actions consistent with the laws, in front of us. But if determinism is true, then our journey through life is like traveling in only one direction on a road which has no branches. There are other roads leading to other destinations. If we could get to one of these other roads, we could reach a different destination. But we can't get to any of these other roads from the road we are already on. One has free will if sometimes more than one of the forks in the road of time are open to one. One lacks free will if on every occasion only one of the forks is open to one. So if determinism is true, our actual future is our only possible future. We are never able to choose or do anything other than what we actually do. So the no forking paths argument goes like this. We have free will only if at least sometimes we can do otherwise. Premise 2. We can do otherwise only if choosing between actions is like choosing between forking paths. That is, there has to be more than one action that is a lawful continuation of the actual past. Premise 3. If determinism is true, there is only one lawful continuation of the actual past. Therefore, if determinism is true, we can never do otherwise. Conclusion. Therefore, if determinism is true, we don't have free will. While there is but a single path behind us, there are many before us. The path we take now will determine which paths are available further on, just as the choices we have made previously have brought us to our present predicament. And though it may be difficult, if not impossible, to tell where the paths before us might ultimately lead, we cannot go backward. We must continue on, doing our best to pick the path that will lead us to where we want to be. The single path leading up to one's present decision represents the past. The forking paths that one must decide between represents those possible futures consistent with the past and the laws of nature. But if determinism is true, there is only one possible future consistent with the past and the laws, and hence only one path to choose from. That is, if determinism is true, then we are not free to do otherwise. The single path behind us is best understood as corresponding to the temporal past, as containing all those events that have occurred prior and hence led up to our present decision. The paths before us, being connected to the path we are currently on, are best understood as corresponding to those possible temporal futures that are consistent with the past. But not merely that. Just as there are rules for how we can travel from one path to another, there's no jumping from one path to another, say, so there are rules for which possible futures are allowed, namely the laws of nature. If a temporal future is consistent with the past but not the laws, then it is not a future available to us. So the paths before us correspond to those possible futures consistent with the conjunction of the past and the laws. If causal determinism is true, then at the very least, the laws operating on the past determine a unique future. That would mean there is only one path available to us at any given moment, which corresponds to the claim that we are never free to do otherwise than what we actually do. Hence, causal determinism is incompatible with the freedom to do otherwise. Peter van Inwagen, 1990, puts it succinctly. To say that one has free will is to say that when one decides among folks in the road of time, one is at least sometimes able to take more than one of the folks. Determinism is the thesis that it is true at every moment that the way things then are determines a unique future, that only one of the alternative futures that may exist relative to a given moment is a physically possible continuation of a state of things at that moment. Thus, according to determinism, although it may often seem to us that we confront a sheaf of possible futures, like this image, what we really confront is something like this image. Here the dotted lines represent futures that are not physically possible continuations of the present, and the single solid line represents the future that the laws of nature permit. Now, there are a few objections to the no forking paths argument, which I don't think are a threat to no free will in any way. The first one is Harry Frankfurt's principle of alternative possibilities. So it's to say that it's not necessary for you to have a forking path ahead of you for you to have free will. That even if you have the ability to do only one thing and that you will end up doing only that thing and you can't do otherwise, you can still be called to have free will. Now, I will talk about Frankfurt-style cases in my future videos, so stay tuned for that. Now, the second objection is regarding the special theory of relativity and how it implies that the future is not really like a garden of forking paths. But I've discussed Einstein's block universe in my earlier video, so you can check that out. Because Einstein's block universe is already a deterministic universe in itself, and we don't have free will in that kind of a universe either. And rather than considering the path behind you in the no forking paths argument as the past, just consider it as the chain of causation, the causal nexus. Even if you think backward causation is possible, even if you think that you can go back in time and change the past, if you think time travel is possible and you can go back in time and change the past, you are still a slave of the chain of causation. It's still the causal nexus, you're not breaking out of it. And even if you think backward causation is possible, we don't have the power to affect backward causation. Have you ever consciously brought about backward causation? Damn me if you have. Anyway, so none of these restores free will. And the no forking paths argument is indeed a good intuition pump when it comes to no free will. I have lots in mind generally. And I have a lot of ideas about videos that I could make as well. And I wish I could make them. However, I don't have a fork in front of me. It's just a skewer. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the no forking paths argument. If you like such videos, like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, stay tuned and stay curious.